Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and we are on episode 180, which is the end of our 4-part series this month. So if you missed the prior episodes in 177, we talked all about the hustle and how to shine this year. In episode 178, we talked about how to banish burnout to make sure that you were in a state of flow. Last week in episode 179, we talked about having more fun for fun's sake. We also have worksheets, free worksheets for every single episode to help you make the most of this series, including for today, which is all about joy in the journey. So if you do not yet have those free worksheets, you can go to heatherjoyhubbard.com, subscribe, and get them for free. All right, so today is all about joy in the journey. So I just got back from the most magical, wonderful retreat at Miraval. And if you have been following me for any time at all, you have heard me talk about Miraval. I hosted my first retreat there in November of 2016, which I cannot believe that I have been doing retreats there for 7 years. It's wild. It's wild. Um, but it's so meaningful to me. It is my home away from home. It is my favorite place on earth. And so I was so excited to bring that back this year after COVID and my health sabbatical. And I had high hopes for this group, but they blew me away. It was my favorite group and my favorite retreat so far. And if you attended one of my prior retreats, I am not saying that as a diss in any way. You were amazing as well. I think what made this one the best was in many ways, I have grown, I have evolved, and so have my people, like, so have you, right? So this was the first group where I knew every single person coming in, where I had previously worked with each of them in some way. And they were not new to personal and professional development, which allowed me to go deeper than I have ever gone before. And I have never felt more ease and more comfortable and had so much confidence. But part of that was because the group that showed up, they went all in and they fully trusted me and they trusted themselves to just be part of the process. And so we've always had life-changing, transformational results at these retreats. And this time it was even more. So it was a wonderful experience. I want to share a little bit more about that and let you hear from them. But what I really want to talk about today, it's not just about the retreat. It's why I call it joy in the journey, what joy in the journey means to me, and how you can start to incorporate more joy in your journey, regardless of if you are ever attending, my retreats. So, let's talk about joy in the journey because like I said, I've been doing these since 2016, but this was the first one that I called joy in the journey. So when I started these in 2016, they were called Life and Law in Balance. And I was in a different place. I think my audience was in a different place. I mean, we truly have grown together, right? We've gone through so much together. And so when it started out, I was often leading these retreats that definitely had an experiential sense and they were a journey, but there was a lot of workshopping. I did a lot of teaching, and I helped people learn about mindfulness. I helped them learn about boundaries. We worked on like career, professional, and even life um, strategies, time management. And this one, I did not teach a single thing, and it was more powerful because, again, I just think we've all grown together. When you have people who are not new to these concepts, you can just dive in and go so much deeper. But the reason why I always led the retreats at Miraval was because I was at an event. I'm trying to think now. Oh my goodness. It would have been maybe 2015. It was an event here in Nashville. It was a woman's event. It had something to do with real estate or construction. I have no idea. The only reason I was there was because someone invited me, and I think very highly of her. She ended up coming to one of my Miraval retreats. Shout out to Rebecca. And the CEO of a very large company here in town started talking about her entire talk was about living on purpose and finding ways to ground yourself, to remember what you're doing it all for, and to take care of yourself. And she starts talking about this place called Miraval, which I had never heard of in my life. But the more she talked about it, the more I was like, this sounds amazing. So, of course, I'm immediately like Googling Miraval and then put it aside to go look at. And as soon as I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my brand bestie. We are so aligned in so many ways. And so back then, you actually had to apply to do retreats, and so I applied, and they approved me, and it was so wonderful. And I was really just trying to bring more of that peace and flow and joy into lawyers' lives. Of course, I've evolved, and now I don't just work with lawyers, although I still attract a lot just because that is my background. Um, but women from other walks of life as well. And then in 2020, we incorporated that retreat into our 2020 mastermind experience. So it was a little bit different in that we were setting up a mastermind. We didn't do all of the workshopping. It was definitely different. And so then when I decided to bring it back because it is just my favorite work that I do, I thought, I have evolved, and I think that my people. I don't know why I keep saying my people. That's I don't know, but that's what I'm my people. They evolved too. And so I was like, where are we at this point in our careers? And I was just like, we have so many accolades. We've accomplished so much. And we still have goals and we still have dreams, but we actually don't need as much strategy. We don't need as many tools and tactics because we've been doing the work. What we need is a place to get grounded, a place to have space, a space where we can remove all the noise and the chaos and get connected to ourselves and to a community of high achieving, like minded women. There's not a lot of that anymore. And it reminded me of the CEO who gave that very first speech that I heard in 2015. I was like, oh, we are now where she was. And this is what I want to lead. And so I was really, really lucky that I had some wonderful women who were willing to let me lead them in that way and to go really deep. And while I was there, anytime I'm there are always celebrities who are at that property. But this time, there was a woman who is still on the richest women in Forbes, but there was a time when she was actually higher than Oprah. She created some software, and her husband had a big company too. So he's now passed away. She's got a lot of money. And she said she comes to Miraval every single year, every single year. And that really is, I think, if you're kind of my age, right? You're not just getting started out. That's where we are. It's how do we have that constant reminder? How do we have that place to go to where we get grounded and we get rejuvenated? Vacations are fun. that falls in the fun category, but how you continue to cultivate joy. I feel like that's a different experience. And I used to always say joy is in the journey, right? Joy is in the journey. We've all heard of this phrase, but I've come to figure out that joy is not automatically in the journey, right? It is not a given, it is a decision. Joy is not a given, it is a decision. And that may sound annoying because it's like, oh, what? If I'm not joyful, it's my fault. I mean, I get it. I'm not trying to gaslight you. Um, but I'm a control freak, and my guess is some of you are control freaks as well. And one of the only things we have control over is our decisions. And so that is empowering. And that makes me happy. That makes me happy. I'm in control of this. So, how do we have more joy in the journey? I think we have to be really, really intentional about making sure that we don't get pulled out of that place where we know who we are, where we know what we want, and we can hear the voice within. At the retreat, I talked a lot about the voice within and the voice without. And for me, the voice within is it's our truth, it's our higher self, and very rarely are we tapped in to that voice. And then the voice without is it can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. If you're religious, it is your faith, it is your God. If you're spiritual, it is that. I feel like even people who are like agnostic and atheist, like they can recognize that perhaps there is something a little greater going on out there, even if they would not call that their faith. And we have access to this information. We have access to um, like the voices within and without, if we are tapped in and tuned in. And there's not a lot of opportunities to do that. Um, we are surrounded by so much noise. Um, Social media, the news, the industries we are in, the bubbles we are in, our friends, our family, our colleagues, even our own negative chatter, right? There is so much noise. And how do you go to a place that allows you to shut out the noise so you can get reconnected to the voices within and, like I said, without? I feel like we spend most of our time in that middle space, and that is the space that makes us fearful, makes us confused, makes us anxious, makes us stressed, makes us believe lies. And so that was my intention, was to bring us back to who we are and what we want so that we can create and find more joy in every experience regardless of what is going on around us. Now, because magic always happens at Miraval, I sat at a community table the first night I was there. I always go in a night before because I feel like I'm the only person who cannot miss a flight or be late, right? Like I have to lead. So I always go in a day before just to be safe. And so I decided to sit at a community table for dinner and with three other women. And the woman who sat right beside me, of course, was someone who was a visiting specialist who was teaching a workshop at Miraval called The Secrets to Happiness. And we're new friends. We're not old friends yet. So let me look at her name. Bejeweled Choksey. And we started chatting about what we do. She does leadership coaching, executive programs, and she researches happiness. And I was telling her this concept of, joy is not in the journey. It can be, but if you choose to have it in the journey, if you choose to focus on it, and you make it a decision, then it will be there. And she said, the research shows that 50% of happiness comes from our genes. Good old mom and dad. So, a lot of us like to blame our parents. And according to Bejewel, that would be fair. It would be accurate because 50% of our happiness comes from our genes. And so, on the one hand, it's like, thanks, mom and dad. On the other hand, it's kind of refreshing to know, okay, so maybe I'm not as happy as the next person, but I actually have no control over it. So, you just know your baseline is different. This is what shocked me though 10%. 10% is based on your situation and your circumstances. We often think that our situation and circumstances is the reason for everything, right? Like that's what we blame it on. And the good news is, it can also be frustrating news. The good news is that's just not the case. 40% of happiness is based on your decisions. 40% is based on your decisions. And as I said earlier, and as I was telling her, my motto was joy is not a given, it's a decision. Again, we have control over our decisions. So I think that that's great news. It means we can do something about it. We may not be the happiest person we know because of our damn parents, but we actually do have a lot of control over this. And so this this is where I am. For me, after the sabbatical, just really being able to say, how can I experience joy even when I'm in a moment where it doesn't feel joyful? And how do I not lose my passion and my purpose when it feels like nothing matters? And that really is what joy in the journey means to me. I asked all of our attendees what joy in the journey meant to them. And so I'd like to share that with you.
I think that I've always kind of thought that joy and happiness are exclusive. Like it's like you're just going to experience joy and it's going to feel wonderful. But actually, it's you can experience joy and there can be some imperfection happening at the same time. So it's not like this isolated emotion or experience that you have. Like the challenge course, for example, it was fun and joyful and we were smiling up there, but it was also really freaking scary and I didn't want to look down. And so it's just like recognizing that like things don't have to be like in a silo, like one way, like just joy, just happiness. It can be, I can experience joy and also feel a little bit nervous about something or scared of something.
Joy in the journey just means having fun along the way. Not every moment's going to be, rainbows and sunshine, but you can find that if you have it within you.
Joy in the journey is about being present where you are. It's about gratitude for what you have. It's about learning again how to have fun and listening to that little 8-year-old self that is still present in your body. Joy in the journey is just having fun with what you have.
Joy in the journey means to me being able to pause and find the gratitude and appreciation in the experiences. It means being able to lean into the yes and the both and. That even when difficult things are happening, we often can find the redemption and the beauty and the positive. And this is not positive psychology saying, oh, just always be nice and always be happy, but rather that no matter where we are and what we're going through, taking from it that which enriches and benefits and being able to leave the rest behind. Even if sometimes we can't leave it behind right away, maybe we leave it later, but being able to pause and enjoy the beauty and appreciate the love to receive the blessings.
Joy in the journey means you've got to look for something that grounds you and brings you happiness and joy in every single experience, whether it is something that scares you, whether it is something that is illuminating, whether it is something exciting and happy in life, or whether it's the darkest storm you've been through. You will find that little piece of joy and it helps you through the journey.
Joy in the journey, I think it's about finding whatever little thing or big thing that you can hold on to that lights you up and sustains you as you're doing all of the other little mundane things that are a part of just walking through the world. So anything from, someone's warm smile to, those big multi-million dollar contracts. Just finding whatever those things are that keep you going.
Joy in the journey means to me that life is not going to always be sunshine and rainbows, but you still manage to find the joy for yourself, and you aren't waiting for somebody else to find it for you.
All right, so you've heard what joy in the journey means to me. You've heard what joy in the journey means to the women who attended. I'm curious, what does joy in the journey mean to you? How do you ensure that you are creating more joy each and every day in your life? So, the other thing that I did different this time, um, based on feedback I've gotten and also just trusting my intuition as to what this group needed, we had a workbook. Normally, people receive their workbooks when they arrived, and now I'm sending them out in advance with a welcome box and goodies. And it's an 8-week journey and it's optional. You don't have to do it, but it really allows you to start thinking so that when you show up, you are primed and ready to go deep. So the themes for each week 1 was I am that girl. Week 2, it's good to be queen. Week 3, what fun. That probably sounds familiar to you from last week. Week 4, live life in luxury. Week 5, big ideas. Week 6, new ways to work. Week 7, shine bright. And then week 8 was the magic of Miraval. And so that's when we met and did our work together. Um, we had the 4-day retreat, which just it was beyond my expectations. Um, and then we're now headed into some bonus masterminding sessions. But I wanted to share with you a little bit about who attended and their biggest takeaways, because even though you were not able to attend, maybe you had a scheduling conflict or there was some kind of financial concern where you weren't able to do it, whatever the reason, I think you can still benefit from the lessons that these women took away. And a lot of them are amazing coaches and leadership consultants. And so I want you to meet them, and we'll also put their links in the show notes so that you can go learn more about them.
Coriambana, Carew. I go by Corey. I live in a suburb of Chicago called Naperville. Oh, everything that we need and everything that we want can be built, and we have it in us. We have everything that we need in us, around us, and with our community.
I'm Kimberly Lopez. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I'm a 15-plus year career attorney in big law. The biggest takeaway is that we all have the powers within ourselves to really forge the paths we desire.
Laura Yeager from St. Petersburg, Florida, and I am the business owner of Yeager Law, a products liability firm where clients matter, and Yeager Legal Consulting, where I help lawyers and law firms find solutions and amplify their practice. If I listen and I am open, I can move forward.
My name is Vaughn Jacobs. I am the CEO and founder of Creating Equity, which is a strategic advisory firm out of Durham, North Carolina, that I get to learn to let people support me and be nice to me and receive, and that I cannot be the kind of giver that I want to be if I don't also learn how to receive. And so the purpose that I know that I have in this world and the calling that is on my soul, that work requires me now in this moment to learn how to receive. And so I get to develop some new skills.
Hi, my name is Amin Costigan, and I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I'm a lawyer and partner up in Canada, and I also have a side business where I'm a life strategist for couples, and I'm teaching couples, along with my husband, how to live a more intentional life. And you can find more about that at my website, amincostigan.com. I learned that in my head, I make things a lot harder than they actually are in real life. Like, I kind of build them up in my head and what the expectations are, and kind of think about what the obstacles are. But then when I actually go to do the thing, like the challenge course here, it wasn't as hard as I had made it out to seem, and actually that there were moments of fun and things that I would want to do again. So it's just interesting to then look at my life and some of the choices and hard decisions I've had to make, and then look at how I've made those really big in my head, and that it's, you know, it's gonna set off like fireworks, and it's, oh my gosh, people are gonna be disappointed and they're gonna think this and that and all these other things. But yet when you actually go to do it, it's actually not as eventful as I had made it out to seem. And I think the challenge course is illustrative of that. And then also just the support of doing it with other people makes it that much easier. It gives you that accountability, and that's what I love about coming to retreats like this.
My name is Amy Gardner, and I'm from Chicago. And my company is called Chromatic, and we help people like their jobs more. So we work with teams and leaders in law firms and corporations, and we work with lawyers on career development and transitions, often around business development through one-on-one coaching and small group masterminds. The biggest takeaway from this retreat for me has really been that you have to have these opportunities that you build in for yourself, to have some time for reflection, to be in community with other people who are going to inspire you and push you. And if you don't make that time for yourself, no one else will. Another big takeaway for me has been the importance of just being open to new experiences, new perspectives. And I think we all know that, but this has been an incredible reminder of that. And so things that, going into the retreat, if you had told me a few days ago I was going to do some of the things that I've done, I would have told you that you were crazy. And yet those have been some of the most powerful things for me.
I'm Jen Johnson from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I own Civil Solutions, consulting, mediating, and education firm. This retreat has taught me that I'm trustworthy, and that has been one of the biggest issues that I've dealt with through my career and the changes in my career. I've practiced law for 25 years in litigation and have transitioned now into the mediation and consulting realm. And I've just had some self-confidence issues. I feel so much better after this retreat because we were given opportunities to really explore what it is that is keeping us from being able to trust ourselves and to move forward. So I really gained a lot from this retreat.
Ah, listening to those videos makes me want to go back to Miraval tomorrow. I'll be back in September with another group, but it really makes me want to go back. It was a very, very special group. So, so here's my question to you. How can you incorporate more happiness and more joy in your journey, even if you're at a spot where you're like, this isn't what I want? I know it's not what I want. I'm not really sure what I'm doing next, as opposed to waiting for a milestone. What would it look like to start embracing more joy right now? If you want to learn more about my next Miraval retreat in September, even if you're just curious or nosy, that's okay. I'm happy for you to come in. I'm hosting a live video on YouTube on Friday, March 8th at 11 a.m. Central. To get the link to watch the video, though, you need to be on my email newsletter list. And here's the reason why: it's going to be live, and I don't want any internet weirdos or trolls coming in and crashing our party and making dumb comments. So I really want to protect the space for those who do attend live. So Again, if you want access to that and the worksheets that we've had this month, just go to heatherjoyhubbard.com/subscribe, and we will be sending that link out before we do go live. So I'll take you behind the scenes, share even more about what the attendees had to say, and I will outline everything that you can expect, dates, cost, some bonuses, and a huge reveal for 2025, as well as an exclusive opportunity, fast acting opportunity for those who do attend live. So definitely get there, be there live. Put the date on your calendar if you think you might be interested. But again, even if you know you're not and you're curious, come join us. I don't care. Here's the thing though, regardless of whether or not you join me for a retreat, I want you to consider how you can start to have this space for yourself. So whether you are creating it for yourself, maybe you take a weekend away. Maybe you are going to some kind of yoga retreat or meditation retreat or some other type of retreat. How can you make sure that each and every year, or more often, you are being intentional about who you are, what you want, and how to stay passionate, purposeful, and committed to having as much joy in the journey as possible? All right, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will be back with a new episode next week. And please do save that date. I'd love to see you on March 8th at 11 a.m. Central. To get the link, just be sure to subscribe at heatherjoyhubbard.com/subscribe. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.